San Francisco 49ers on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. Right now, 49ers are 1 to 1.5 point road favorites over the Cincinnati Bengals, a total of 48.5 to 49. We have bets on this game. I don't have one. You two do. I would be on the other side if I were playing this against you guys, but I'm very curious as to the positioning. So, Steven, you are on the 49ers as a point favorite. Go ahead.
No, I'm on the other side.
Oh, you're on Cincinnati. Okay, then Brad is on. Okay, so good. We do have an oppo situation here. So, Brad, I'm going to start with you then, since Steven and I would be on the Bengals side of things. You've got a San Francisco team that really the only way that they have been having any sort of success at all has been kind of through this power running thing. We saw what happened last week when they needed Jimmy G to actually be a quarterback in the NFL, and it was a complete and utter disaster. And so now they have to go sign Brian Hill at running back because Elijah Moore is going to be out, Trey Sermon's going to be out, Jeff Wilson's going to be out, Trenton Cannon is going to be out, which leaves them with Jermichael Hasty and Brian Hill at running back. And then, so outside of that, you're going to be trusting Jimmy Garoppolo here. So defend your position on the 49ers, Brad.
Well, I'm not hugely worried about running backs. I mean, Shanahan goes through running backs like hotcakes because his scheme is just ridiculously savage on all of his players for some reason. I guess, I think the way he gets them moving, they just seem to get demolished. But yeah, like, what's wrong with Jermichael Hasty? You got a problem with Hasty? I don't see why he couldn't carry the load. Like, is he worse than Jeff Wilson, for example? Every running back that steps into that scheme behind Trent Williams, it's one of the best run blocking lines in the NFL. One of the best schemes in the NFL. They punch huge holes in it. And this Bengals defense has not played anyone at all. They've had pretty much the easiest schedule in the league. They got shredded last week by the Chargers, and they've not really played any other good offenses. So, to me, I think the 49ers are going up and down the field. There's a chance Debo comes back as well. I would peg that as above 50%. What do you look like you got something to say, Matt?
Yeah. He was a DNP on Wednesday, but it basically, I think a lot we're going to see throughout the course of the week. And honestly, that's the reason why I haven't put this bet in my account yet on the side of Cincinnati, because I think if Debo plays, that's a completely different scenario for this team and a completely different option. But if he's not out there, I mean, listen, you're going to go, dude, you're going to place a bet strictly based off of one player that's not even a quarterback. It's a damn wide receiver. But Debo Samuel is kind of like one of those deals where
he's a weapon.
He would be like, he's the MVP of a team that will never, ever win an MVP. But it's kind of like you look and you're like, this guy's been doing everything, right? I mean, like he is like the most valuable player on that team without any question whatsoever. And so, that's the reason that bet didn't get in my account so far, is because I am waiting on that Debo Samuel news. If he were to go, probably just to sit back and I'll take this one in as a spectator. But if he doesn't go, I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo whatsoever. I don't do that. I don't think the 49ers are going to be able to New England Patriots versus the Bills, the Cincinnati team. So I don't think they'll be able to do that. And so I don't trust him there. So you're not worried then whether Debo plays or not?
I bet it. So obviously I prefer he was in there. But I mean, I feel like George Kittle is enough. Brandon Ayuk is enough. And as I say, the running backs, I suppose I don't see that the Cincinnati defense, they're 27th in adjusted sack rate. They're 31st in. I'm looking at the wrong number there.
They're not great.
So they're 28th in pass rush win rate, 22nd in run stop win rate, despite having the top 3 easiest schedule in the NFL. And then you've got the San Francisco offense, who, as I say, they've got one of the best run blocking offensive lines. They're 4th in offensive DVOA. So I don't really think Jimmy G will have to do much. I think he'll have to hit his, 20 passes over the middle to George Kittle. But I think he's happy to do that. Now, I suppose where I am more concerned is this 49ers secondary, where they lost Emmanuel Mosley, and they're getting a bit thin at corner against, a good fleet of wide receivers. You're going to have Josh Norman on Jamar Chase,
right,
which is not really a matchup I like. But I also don't think the Bengals can necessarily block Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead either. So,
yeah, this is Stephen. If you look at this Bengals defense, I mean, it's a Jekyll and Hyde defense for sure, right? I mean, they either show up or they completely do not show. I mean, if you look at how they've gone throughout the course of the year, it has been a team that has gone out and you're like, oh, okay, they've really got this thing figured out. They give up 10 points to the Steelers. They give up 13 points to the Raiders. They give up 17 to the Ravens earlier in the year. The Lions only score 11. The Steelers, the first time, only scored 10 against them as well. And then the other times they're giving up 30 plus points every single game. And so very, very up and down performances from this. I think the other thing, and I'm sure you're going to mention this in your handicap here, the only thing that is also kind of keeping me off this as well is the fact that we did see Joe Burrow in a ton of pain on the sideline this past week with a pinky injury that last time I checked, it's pretty important to have a pinky when you're throwing a football. So that also has me a little bit worried on the Cincinnati side of things as well.
But apparently not as important as a middle finger like Russell Wilson, because Joe did come back and throw the ball fairly well despite that pinky injury. So I'm not concerned about Joe in his hand. To Brad's point, the most important question I asked myself for this game as a 49ers fan myself, do running backs matter for this particular 49ers team? Because I agree that traditionally they haven't mattered under Kyle Shanahan. But I think Eli Mitchell and Deebo Samuel being the change of pace running back for the past 3 games he's been healthy, I think they do matter. Let's start with Eli Mitchell. He's been excellent. Among the best in the league in yards after contact. Shanahan has made him the bell cow. He's in the concussion protocol. He had a knee irritation that prompted an MRI. So we'll see if he plays. If he clears the protocol, I think he will play, but we don't know if he will. His production this year, 4.6 yards per carry, is despite an offensive line that is 19th and 20th in adjusted line yards and run block win rate. And I think Deebo Samuel also mattered to the run game. I mean, he was averaging 5 to 8 rushes a game he's averaging more than 8 yards per carry this year in the run game. I'm not as confident he is going to play. He's got that groin injury. And the reason I say that is because when asked about a linebacker this week returning to practice, Shanahan said that he expects him to return to practice. But when asked about Deebo, he said it was too early to tell. So he didn't use the same language. So that casts more doubt for me that Deebo's actually going to play. We'll see. Jeff Wilson is also banged up. You mentioned JaMychal. He was the 5th string running back at this point for the Niners. And based on the offensive line play, I don't think it's just plug and play to go from Eli Mitchell to JaMychal Hasty. So now if those 2 guys are out, and I think they are huge factors here for this offense, you are relying on Jimmy Garoppolo if they're out to win this game. And on the other side, you're asking with Emmanuel Mosley out, who was their best corner, who still wasn't a top 40 cornerback by PFF grades. So now you got a bunch of worse corners to try and slow down Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So I think the Bengals have the biggest advantage in this game with their receivers and quarterback against a very bad 49ers secondary. I like the Bengals if those 2 guys are out, and I actually like them a lot if those 2 guys are out.
Yeah, I kind of get. I hate sitting here going like if this, if that, if this. I understand that isn't incredibly helpful for people.
But they matter a lot
for people listening. But there is that. I mean, but then on the Bengals side of things as well. So Riley Reif missed last week. He is expected back at practice this week, but I expect that I'm going to wake up to $1 million in a suitcase outside of my front door every morning. And that doesn't happen. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be, T. Higgins came out of that game last week with a little bit of an ankle injury. So there's like a lot of factors here that are swirling around that I think this is probably going to be, if this is a bet for me, specifically where it sits right now at the line, right? Like, I mean, only sitting at 1, it's not going to get out of territory for me if I wait a little bit here and try and figure out what I'm going to get in this game. And so it'll be a wait and see for me as far as where I'm going to go.